Who here uses social media? That's what I thought. So if you would look around, everybody here uses social media. So I think we can all agree that social media affects all of us. 2.8 billion and counting people use social media right now. This is 40% of the world's population, 83% of Americans, and a whopping 93% of teenagers. Social media has been used for good, and contrary to popular belief, it even positively affects the way that teenagers view themselves. According to a study done by Common Sense Media, 1 in 5 teenagers say they have felt more confident since going onto social media than the only 4% that has said it made them feel less so. But social media has also been used for bad. 83% of teenagers say that they have seen someone be cruel or mean online, 49.5% are victims of cyberbullying, and 33.7% have said that they have committed a cyberbullying behavior online. Social media has become one of the most powerful tools available to us today. It can determine our relationships that we have with people. It determines globalization and the way that we connect with people around the world. And it even revolutionize the way that we get information and what news we acquire. These are just to name a few things. Social media has strengthened our relationships, but has also weakened others in the process. Face-to-face relationships have taken a major strain by social media. According to a study done, even when adults are given the opportunity to meet up face-to-face, 11% said they would prefer to stay home and communicate through their devices instead. By doing this destroys all social cues and nonverbal body language, which accounts for 93% of communication. By people communicating through phones and stuff, this doesn't allow for the interactions that people have had for so many years. According to a 2012 study done by the Center of Digital Future, the amount of people reporting less face-to-face time within their families increased from 8% in 2000 all the way up to 34% in 2011. Despite the fact that social media has been linked to a decrease in social skills, it has increased many other kinds of relationships. Since Skype, the first form of social media, came out in 2003, the chances of a long-distance relationship working out went from 50% in 2000 to 70% in the 2010s. According to some couples in long-distance relationships, social media sites such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram not only allow them to directly communicate with each other, but it also keeps them up to date with what's happening in each other's lives by viewing posts and even commenting on these posts, which allows for a sense of knowing and closeness in their relationships. Social media apps such as Facebook and Foursquare that allow couples to check in also allows the couples to know where their significant other is. But the number one thing that couples have said help the relationship survive the best is the ability to video chat through apps such as Skype, Tango, and Quick. Well, one of the more recent relationships to have expanded since the beginning of social media is the one between colleges and their potential students. 35% of college admission officers say that they do check potential students' social media accounts to learn just a little bit more about them. And 47% of the time, it actually positively affects their view on an applicant and even increases their chance of getting waitlisted and sometimes even accepted into that college. Of specifically Ivy League schools, 25% say they do check potential students' social media accounts, which is an 11% increase in just the past 2 years. But you do need to be careful of what you put online. It's because last year, 12% of the denied Ivy League school applicants were denied based on something that was found on a social media account. Social media has changed the way that we have relationships, some for the better and some for the worse. It all just depends on how you use it and how you let it determine your relationships with other people. This is the most connected the world has ever been, and social media has played a major role in this. If we were to log onto Facebook right now, we could see what is happening across the world extremely easily. Because we are so exposed to this, it has created a globalization mindset. People are now able to reach out and ask for help, and people listen and offer it back. For example, after the Haitian earthquakes of 2010, I saw stories of people that were devastated by these events popping up everywhere. What I also saw in response were food banks, money collection, and even clothing collection banks pop up in response to this. Activism has especially exploded since social media was first introduced. You now see movements that were sparked again by a single event explode into international and national movements seemingly overnight, all because something was sent out and word caught on, and more links and videos were shared, raising even more awareness. Because of this, we now have the ability to send out our stories, ideas, and other people's stories and ideas, and they're able to be seen worldwide, and this brings people together. Remember, these are people who know nothing of each other, just the fact that they've seen something and they feel like something needs to be done, so they do it. Also, another advantage of this is by sending something out, it forces people to confront the reality of situations, which forces a conversation to be started, which forces something to be done. Because once something is out there, there is no denying it and there is no turning back. The Women's March became an international movement because people all over the world saw what was happening on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, etc., and they stood up in support of these people that were protesting what is happening on Capitol Hill. But social media hasn't only helped globalization, it has also harmed it. Do you know what they call my generation? We are nicknamed the I generation. Social media, without us even knowing it, has caused us to become self-absorbed and obsessed with getting likes on our posts and shares on our videos. We now turn to other people for our self-worth. If you were to look on Instagram, you will be able to see what I'm talking about. If you were to look, it's all about who I'm with, what do I look like, what I'm eating, etc., etc., etc. But it's rarely ever, look what's happening out there. Or look what's happening to these people, or we need to do something about this. If you were to log onto Facebook, which has a majority of older generations, you will see this. Yes, you will also see what I was talking about earlier, but this is where you will also see this awareness and these call to actions. With just a few simple clicks these days, we can create worldwide civil rights movements, or we can just bring a little bit of ease into someone else's life. Information, the way that we get information and the news that we acquire have been completely changed by the way we get social media. By social media. 63% of Facebook users now say Facebook serves as a major news source for them, which is a 24% increase since 2014. If you were to log onto Facebook, all the news that you would need to know is conveniently located in the top right-hand corner, and it's even based on what you prefer and what you have searched in the past. But this creates a bias in information. If you were to search more liberal viewpoints, Facebook notes this, and so the news that would pop up would be from a liberal standpoint. And this bias creates a huge problem. If we are only exposed to stories from our viewpoint, then we will never be exposed to the other side of the argument and where those people are coming from, which causes us to become closed off to the other side of the argument. In response, which causes a divide among people. Also, with more and more news articles popping up all the time, there has been an increase in the amount that are false and sometimes even completely fake. These stories have caused mass panic, like the false news reports of a shooter in a Mexico City suburb, which caused the local police department to flood with over 300 phone calls, mass panic around the suburb, and even temporarily closed schools. This is one reason why mistrust of social media information has been increasing. Only 4% of adults say they fully trust the information that they see online, while 33% say they do not trust it at all. Social media is a great tool to gather information, and it keeps us knowledgeable on what's happening around the world. All we need to know is what to trust and what not to trust. Social media is everywhere. It affects all of our lives. It can reunite friends, strengthen relationships that are notorious for not working out, and even bring people together. We now see civil rights movements popping up worldwide, and people are reaching out to help, sometimes without even being asked. Globalization, social media has now become a major part in globalization. We are now moving from we are the citizens of the United States to we are the citizens of the world. But this is only if we use social media in the right way. If we do not, suicide rates and cyberbullying rates go up, we destroy relationships with loved ones, and it can even ruin our chances at getting into our dream college. So I ask you, how do you use social media? Just think back to the last couple of times that you used social media. Think about what was the purpose behind using that social media profile. How did you use it? And I ask you, don't worry, it's not too much, but in the future, the next couple of times that you log on to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, just be aware of what little things that you do can cause a huge impact on your future, and just be aware of how it affects other people around you. Thank you. Second